We're here. We did it. It took us 23 to 25 minutes, but we're on. Okay, everybody. Hello, single parents. Please welcome Jacqueline Genovesi, who's running for Board of Education, Hopewell Valley Regional School District. She's a candidate, and she has so wonderfully accepted our offer to interview her and just say hello and do a meet and greet with the single parents. So what I'm going to do to introduce you, Jackie, if we may call you Jackie, I believe we have permission. Yes. Okay. I am going to read an introduction about you that we found in the centraljersey.com. So hang on, everybody. So, mom of three. Wow. So all three Hopewell Valley students, 2018 to 2021, graduates and a current sophomore. My son's a sophomore. Jackie is the vice president for the Center of STEAM Equity at the Academy of Natural Sciences of Drexel University. Genovesi graduated from Ryder, right around the bend, very local, and has a Bachelor of Science in Biology. Awesome. She received her master's degree in environmental education. Very nice. Are you on the green team?
I'm not on the green.
You're not on the green team. Check, check. We need to get you a little louder.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to yell a little bit.
Okay. Environmental education from UPenn, wow, and a PhD in educational leadership and technology from Drexel. I think my daughter described me best in her letter to the editor, which was in Mercer Me, correct?
Yeah.
My mother is a scholar and curious by nature. She constantly teaches me new things about equity and justice. That's kind of on the money now with that's top topic. When it comes to policy implementation and budgets, I implore you to choose someone who is eager to create foundations and based in fact and transparency. To choose someone like my mother who seeks to create healthy minds and bodies through policies that make students feel safe to be themselves within the learning environment. Policies that reignite students' passions for learning, inclusion, and community. Hello, Jackie, and welcome to Hopewell Valley Single Parenting Together. Tell us some more. Tell us some more about what you hope to do and how we can be of help for you on the Board of Education.
Great. Well, thank you so much for inviting me, and hopefully people will also put some questions and things in the chat. One of the reasons that I wanted to do this was to really hear what the community needed and wanted from me. As far as what I would like is, I've spent most of my life in education and especially around equity. And so watching my children go through the school district, I saw all the wonderful things that they got from the school district, but I also saw where the school district could improve and really help support them better. I have three, like many people who have more than one child, all of my children were very different. And so I watched them really blossom and grow, but I also watched the challenges that they had through their differences. And so sort of making sure that all children have a space where they feel welcome and can be themselves, for me, is one of the most important things with school. You know, as an educator, I know that when you feel safe and in a place where you can be you, you're gonna learn the best. And that's how we create, you know, loving, successful adults. And so for me, it's really looking at those ways we can support not only our students, but our staff and administration too. And so that's what I'm looking for.
And that's kind of a platform for the single parents. We're getting a little feedback. We're not live on the phone, are we? What am I doing wrong here? I just want to say that for single parents, we want to feel the inclusion too. And it's been, sometimes it can be a bumpy ride. It can be a little bit of a hurdle. And so part of our mission is to remove the stigma. Who cares? We're doing this alone. You know, it's hard. Yeah. But we're looking for inclusion too, and to see how better we can approach anything within the community, frankly, and how we can better serve people, as well as, you know, where can the school help us with the outreach, because it was pretty remarkable when our former superintendent of schools assigned us a counselor during the pandemic, the amount of people who showed. And it didn't mean they joined and they stayed with us forever, but it became a space where single parents knew they could go to share, whether with a counselor through the school or at nighttime for social meetings on Facebook, or, you know, whatever, Zoom calls, whatever we were doing, live, in person at a coffee shop, whatever. So anyhow, I want to just kind of underscore that that's where we fall in as well. Now, as far as Carolyn actually had an excellent question about the demand of being on the Board of Education and what this means for you, and are you prepared for that, for committee meetings and other responsibilities, because it will be like a full-time job.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, will you be able to balance that with your family and et cetera?
I will. You know, I really thought about this long and hard, and was I at a place in my life where I could do this? I am used to balancing challenging things. So I put in my thing that I got my doctorate. What I didn't put in there is that I got my doctorate in 2011. So my children were 5, what would it have been, 5, 8, and 12.
Wow, that's impressive. You did that when they were so young. Like,
yes.
I'm still waiting. My son's 15. All I can do is a certification course, but anyhow.
Yes, no. So I understand, like, you know, being able to really balance different priorities. I think one of the reasons that I was able to do that, and also one of the reasons that, you know, when you approached me, I said, definitely, yes, let's talk, is I was raised by a single mother. And so, although I don't know the challenges from the parent side, I saw it from the child side. You know, I saw what it was like.
And I have to, and thank you for that. So we actually interview people. We did guest interviews last year with Dr. Smith and our CHS principal, Trish Riley, and we balanced the two. He grew up, Dr. Smith grew up in a single parent household and spoke to that. And she spoke to being a divorced parent and how she's managing running a high school, you know. So thank you, because we welcome all children from single parent households, even though for me it makes me nervous, but you know, but I want to learn, like, what's right, what's wrong. So thank you that you can at least speak from that perspective of being a child in a single parent household. So I just wanted to interject with that, and you know, and say you are most welcome, you know, to speak to that for us. Thank you. So, and go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so like, from that experience, like, so in the district, we have policies in place that I think sometimes the district doesn't think about. So one of those policies is, I know all of my children swim. And so when we are at an away meet, even if I carpool with other parents, because sometimes I have to as a working parent, I am not allowed to bring that child home, or the other parent is not allowed to bring my child home. And that is a policy that assumes that there is another parent that is available to bring the child home. And so when I'm looking at policies, like, so that's one of the things I remember as a child, because I had a working mom and I used to play field hockey, that I relied on that ride home. There were times when my mother just couldn't be there. And so as a school board member, those are the types of policies like I want us to review around everything, because it's not fair. One, it's not fair to that child, and one, it's not fair to that parent. And so that's some of the like minor things that, from my perspective, that we really need to look at.
Well, you know, I don't know if that's a liability issue. It certainly was in the mind of the YMCA when they met with us last spring. But they, you know, they are something to model after, because they really have a lockdown on who they allow to go with, you know, grandparents or whatever. So thank you for bringing that up, because we do need help in picking up our kids. And if it's last minute, how do we do that? So there's a, you know, there is a balance that we have to come up with, so we don't allow a child to go in the wrong car, right? Or, but at the same time, we're not sticking a single parent with aging parents. I'm a, you know, a sandwich generation member myself. How do we do this, you know? So this is good. And you know, do you have an opinion about late buses and any of the busing because of that?
Yeah. I mean, we need to offer those things. We need to be able to offer.
Well, hang on one sec. Carolyn, can you mute yourself? We're getting feedback. Thank you, ma'am. Is that better? Oh, shoot. Okay. We're still getting a little bit of feedback. All right, that doesn't matter. Or maybe, hey, let's just do a little technical. Do either of you have your phones on? Is it playing in the background anywhere else? Because we're hearing me. I'm hearing my echo of myself.
When I mute, do you hear an echo of yourself?
No. Carolyn, can you speak? Unmute.
I'm here.
Are we hearing it? No, you know what? All right, Jackie, there's feedback, I think, from you. So we have to just figure out what else is on.
We'll just can't hear Jackie when she speaks.
Shoot. Yeah, it's been a little difficult, but
I think for some reason, I think my computer doesn't like forums that are not Zoom, because when I'm on a Teams meeting, I get feedback. So you know what I'm gonna do? I don't know if this is possible or not. I'm gonna see if I hop on my phone, if that makes a difference, believe it or not. Although no, I can't hop on my phone now. Did you say?
no, I don't think you can.
Okay.
Well, let's just keep going. We'll just have to deal with feedback. So let's talk about the busing schedule, because that was a big issue with me and how I met Dr. Smith 2 winters ago, this January, February, because I called saying I'm a single parent and, you know, I need to know the buses are running. And we did see that the board approved a higher rate to pay drivers. But what do you see as a board candidate? Carolyn is now reaching out to us via the comments. You know, what do you see how you can help us with the busing, whether during the day, late buses, etc.?
Yeah, so I completely agree with you. Our busing, we as parents and single parents, working parents, need to know that the bus is coming, that our child's going to be picked up at a certain time, and if not, we need backup plans. So as a board, I absolutely think that we need to look at, and especially now where we know there is shortage of bus drivers, you know, we're having personnel shortages, really looking at what we're doing budget-wise to ensure that we can make sure that we have buses for our children. And you also started off with the after school buses. So looking at that and making that a priority so that all of our students can participate. You know, and I don't think we should be singling out single parents. Like that's not just
Well, the working parents, let's just, working parents and single parents pretty much parallel each other in those regards, you know.
exactly. So it's a lot of people that this is affecting.
Mhm.
And so I think we need to make sure that this is one of those equity things. Like I see this very much as an equity issue that, you know, as a district, we should be making policies just for our two-parent families, especially our two-parent families where one parent is either home all the time or close enough to be able to do things, that we're really looking to the entire district to say, how can we help? How can we do this?
So I'm going to now pop in two questions. So the argument against the late buses has been there aren't any children on the bus. I've had a parent say that to me. There are no children riding that bus, and why are we spending that money on a late bus? What do you say to that?
I say that we need to look at how many children need this. So I don't think it's an either or. Like lots of people like to do it's an either or. So either we have to run these buses for X amount and get so many kids on them, or we can't have a late bus. What I say is let's get out of these either or conversations and figure out what is a win for the children and parents that need it. So if I only have 2 kids that need a late bus, why do those 2 kids have to suffer? What is our option? How do we service them so that one, we're not paying for 40 kids, we're paying for 2 kids, and we figure it out. But I think that's one of the problems with the district sometimes, and not even the district, with people. People often see things as it's either this or that. And sometimes you just need to come together and say, okay, what's the creative situation? What can we do? And so that's one of the things that I think I'm really good at is sort of getting out of, okay, we've always done it this way, or this is the only solution, and sitting down and talking and saying, okay, this is our challenge. How do we solve it? How do we solve it so that we're being fiscally responsible? Because I don't want my taxes raised. You don't want your taxes raised. No one wants their taxes raised. But
No, we don't. And you know, again, Hopewell Valley is a little expensive. And for single parents such as myself, it's, you know, hanging out. And I don't want to think about moving out of my hometown because I can't afford it anymore. That bothers me. And the big issue when people do complain, it's because of the school. And that's where I'll just like slide over to a budget question. How do you think the spending is? This is a Carolyn Bender question. Thank you, Carolyn. Do you feel that the budget right now is overspending, underspending? You know, maybe like you're saying, maybe the buses need to be paid attention to it a little bit better. Where do you think the budget falls? And then I want to go back to the equity comment you made.
yeah. So right now, so honestly, I would need to be able to really dig into our budget. So the way I understand our budget, and I know there's a certain part of them that it's mandatory. Like we have to pay an X amount. And then there's the part where we get to decide what we're spending on. I also know that we've had a surplus and that there are, you know, conversations around what we do with that surplus. And so I think we really need to look at all of those different pieces because I also understand, so I've worked in nonprofit my entire life. I understand budgets and I understand really tight budgets. right, the reason that the Academy of Natural Sciences, which is a 200-year-old institution, is now the Academy of Natural Sciences of Drexel University is because financially, we were not a viable nonprofit. We partnered to make sure our 200-year institution lasted another 200 years. And so we've had to look at tough budgets for many, many years. And so I'm used to doing that. And I'm used to looking at tough budgets, ensuring that the mission is still kept intact. And so
hold on one second. Can you boost your volume or animate?
I am at
We just get, I don't know if you see this comment, but they're saying our guest is very low, so we want to make sure you're heard because what you're saying is good stuff about your nonprofit experience. And
unfortunately, I am up at full volume, and I'm not sure why.
Well, have you studied acting?
No, but I'm a teacher.
There you go. Start shouting. We'll understand.
Yeah. So, no, what I was saying was that I think we really need to take a hard look at what we're doing with these different things. I also know from experience that people like to put things on. So people like to be liked. And so it's hard sometimes to make that decision that what is right financially. And so I know there are costs coming up, like infrastructure costs. I know that we want to have top quality education for our students. And so how do we balance all of that in a way that ensures that not only today we're doing what we need to do for our students, but that tomorrow we also have the funds available, and that I'm not going to pitch the ball to the next Board of Education when I'm off of it. So that's how I'm going to look at budgets, to make sure that I'm taking care of things in the short term and the long term.
No kicking the can. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I think people sometimes, if you are really transparent, and if we go to people and say, this is what we are doing, I think it's easier to have those conversations. So I think that's another important part of this, communication.
And yeah, transparency, communication, outreach. How do we do this? All right. I do want to ask you, when you speak to equity, let's talk a little bit more about that and where single parents may come in. I know you're trying to learn about us too. We're all new, and that's my disclaimer. Is we're just a group. We're not a 501c3. We are a group, and we're a sustainable network of single parents just trying to support each other and provide resources. So when it comes to inclusivity and anything beyond just not even single parents, beyond that, where do you see taking the board for the school, for the children, and those of us in charge of those children?
Yeah. So I think making sure that talks like this continue. So single parents. So like anytime like I talk to a group or a person, like single parents isn't a thing. Like your struggles and challenges, I'm sure, are different than the other Carolyn on the phone, which I'm sure are different than Ben, who might be listening. So I think understanding what all of the challenges are, how we can support those challenges, and having open communication that continues. I I also think representation is really important. So ensuring that there are single parents in our PTOs, in our parent council, in our different groups, so that there is an opportunity to be able to bring up these issues.
And I think it's important to note that, you know, a lot of us as single parents, we just don't have the time, the money for sitters. And this is where Zoom has been exceedingly helpful, is that we can hop in on meetings now. But we, as much as we want to volunteer, especially for a parent like myself, the 24/7 parent, I'm widowed, so that's why I'm saying 24/7. We can't always participate. So that's where we were not able to get on the DPC last year, only because we just didn't have the time and the wherewithal. But this year we will be a part of the district parent council and see how, you know, single parents can at least be a little better tapped in to what's going on with the PTOs for those of us who cannot attend. And so I just wanted to just interject with that.
Yeah, and you know what? That's important. But so because I work in equity, I understand that. So it is not your job to do the extra lift. It is our job to ensure that when we have these meetings, when we do these things, that you can participate. That's what equity is about. It's making sure that you have the supports so that you can do that.
Well, here, and you know, Ryan just raised this in the live comments, because this has been a problem. All these meetings are during the day. You know, even the counselors, so there are issues with that. You know, Ryan is asking, how can you help single parents in these conversations? Many meetings and events are during the work day, like the PTO, and our counselor meetings for the single parents. So that's actually what we're trying to work out now, is how do we get a school counselor to meet with us after hours? And, you know, so we're looking at our options. And that's part of the equity question too, for everybody. You know, how do we do that? And we just lost your volume again. Darn it, I hate asking you questions. I keep losing you. But you're unmuted, right?
Yes, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Okay. No, it's still pretty low.
Okay.
There you go. You're better. You're better now.
Okay.
And then, oh, wait. One more thing. Carolyn just said sometimes they used to alternate nighttime. And that was said to me by a former PTO president. It's remarkable how then the parents don't show to the nighttime. But maybe with Zoom, you know, and these virtual meetings, which we're all exhausted by, granted, we could handle that. Yeah, so I just wanted to interject with that again. All right, go ahead.
And realize I can't see the live comments. I'm not
Well, you
sure
can't?
why.
Shoot.
I cannot see live comments at
Oh.
all. So you'll have to keep telling me about them, because
I will.
On my computer, there are no live comments. Yeah, and I'm looking all over. So, so that definitely, it's one of those things where our PTOs need to understand that there are lots of parents who cannot do a meeting in the morning. You know, and that's single parents, that's working parents, that's lots of parents. And so finding that win-win situation again is what is important. And I had a thought, and I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. You know, I used to like try and get to a PTO meeting, and I was hyperventilating half the time because I'm on the clock. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to attend a meeting, try and drink a coffee and eat a bagel, but get back to the office because my head's already moving ahead. So that's the working parent blues too. You know, Carolyn actually just in the comments said what, you know, the PTOs, do they live stream maybe their meetings so we can watch them later? I don't think the DPC can do that, but I don't know. I don't know if the PTOs live stream and then you can watch later. That actually wouldn't, that's a good idea. If we do it, you know, there's so many recorded things to catch up with. Yeah.
You know, it's hard to find time in your day to even watch things afterwards. I agree. Yeah, I was trying to, oh, the whole counselor thing. So that's something very near and dear to my heart. And ensuring that our children and our parents have access to counselors is extremely important. So when I started this conversation with, I have very different children. So one of my children has a chronic illness, and the other one is dyslexic and has learning disabilities along with depression and anxiety. And so his access and her access to counselors and the ability for me to interact with them on off hours is very important. And making sure that everyone has that access is very important. Our children cannot survive without that access. And a parent shouldn't have to use a sick day or not be paid for that day because they don't have access in off hours. And that is a simple schedule change. You know, and I hate to say it's simple because I know that there are unions and I know all of the hoops you have to jump through, but being a professional in a nonprofit and a museum that has to be open 362 days a year, there are ways to work around this. So you need to work around it. And it really comes down to making it a priority. If we make it a priority that our children's mental and emotional well-being is the priority, then we find solutions. You know, and I understand those solutions can sometimes be complex, but you know what? We work to find the solution.
You know, as a single parent, I don't have anybody to ask my son to shut the door. I don't have anybody right now. So I'm trying to text him. I can hear you, James. How about that? This is our life as single parents. We don't have anybody to like, oh, honey, I'll do dinner while you take that Zoom call. So sorry, I had to share that. Please close your door. This is my life. You know, meetings and whatnot. So, okay. So where were we? So we are bouncing all over like ADHD people. I'm self-diagnosed ADHD. So, if our audience couldn't tell already. So okay, so back to what you were just saying. Go.
Well, I was actually done when I was saying.
You were done. Okay.
I was done. Yeah. So I want to hear more about like what, you know, and I know you're all here to hear about me.
Yeah, well, you know, we do, and we want to know how we can support everybody and know where we are. We are running up on the noon hour, so you know, we're just, again, we are about parents flying solo and doing the journey alone, and we're supporting each other because we feel like, well, there are others out there, and we don't have to do it alone necessarily. And that's why we built this network. And given the, you know, an opportunity with a counselor, and I guess that's where we were with mental health and counseling, it is so absolutely important. And that's why we do not want one parent falling through the cracks. Now, the former counselor of schools, Lori Rotondo, and I would check in with people, and I'm finding myself checking in with people we haven't heard from in a while, just to, you know, hey, how you doing? How you been? And we will be doing meetings with Dan DiStefano, the new counselor of schools, who's super I did have a brief meeting with him, and we're organizing, hey, single parents, FYI, we're organizing a community meeting so we can just say hello to Dr. Therese, our new superintendent of schools, meet Dan Stefano, and just really talk about how we just want to be there for people. It's hard. We laugh, we cry in those meetings. I'm the crier of the group. You know, it gets overwhelming, and it's surprising how our counseling meetings we really open up, and they're very important to us. And then back to Ryan's concern that we really need to have these better thought out for the Board of Ed, and how to catch the working parent, the single parent, after hours, and just so people know that they have the outlet.
Working together. I think a lot of times we assume that we know the answer. And so what I've learned through working with lots of different community groups is I don't have the answer, but you do. You have the answers, and I just need to listen to them and support you. Like, that's what I think is missing a lot of times. So we work together and we figure it out, but we have to be willing, and I have to be willing to meet you where you are, because you're the ones who need the support.
Thank you. And you know what, on that note, Jackie, that's just wonderful what you said, because it is about the collective we, right? We just, how do we do this? How do we motor through together and be heard, all be heard. Okay. Jacqueline Genovesi, thank you so much, candidate for Hopewell Valley Regional School District Board of Ed. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. And with your permission, we will post this on the Single Parents YouTube, and you can share. And we will share, and everybody can rewatch and watch and watch over again on our group too. Woo!
Even if I lose, I am part of a lot of different equity initiatives with the school district, and I will continue on with them. So please continue to reach out to me, because
how do we reach you? How do we reach you, Jackie? Let's do that now in the comments. I'll put it in. Jacqueline Genovesi.
You can give them my email.
Okay.
The email that I gave you, give them my email.
Okay.
I will continue.
JSG. I'll put it in the live. What is it again? JSG. Hang on. I'm trying to find it in our exchange. Oh, it's in Messenger. I can't hear you. That's why I'm. JSG, what?
39.
Okay. At
Drexel.
Edu. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for taking your Saturday morning with us, and all the hurdles we had to do to get here to chat. It was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much. And thank you for your interest in our group, Single Parenting Together. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.